Pinaplos ng iyong mga mata. Parang kailanang nais ay malimutan ka. Ngunit kailanang nais ay makapiling ka. Di na maloko ang aking sarili. Ito ang aking pag-amin.
Good morning. This is a YouTube training for the iGL revenue report by department. First, we're going to show you that sample report. That sample report can be found in your reports section. These are all the profit and loss reports. This is a sample of that. Click on Ayala. It will show you all the columns, the detachments of the Ayala group. These are the revenue reports captured, supported by the references of sales invoices. And notice that below should appear the disbursement per column or per detachment. The idea is to present the top revenues and the bottom disbursement per detachment column, so you will have a profit and loss per detachment. So that's the background of it. Now, how it is captured, another background is that this is how that report came about. When the transactions are entered in the sales journal, now this is a set of those transactions where you have a debit, accounts receivable, credit sales, and your tax. This is your sales invoice amount. This is the percentage of the agency fee, and the difference is your sales transaction over here. So this is the set, and this is where you capture the detachment here. Just pop this up and show you the detachments. Now, that is why if you classify the transactions, all the transactions, and you classify it by the departments or the detachments over here, that is how the reports here are captured. The columns are captured. Now, the purpose of this training is just an orientation on how those reports came about. Now, these are the list of what we will be working on, a new set of area or detachments. So notice that each detachment is represented by a detachment code over here. And notice also that we have assigned a column for capturing these detachments by the D for detachment columns. So notice these two classifications. Going back, so we classify the detachments and we set it up on the accounts. So there are two ways to set it up. You set up the accounts for your accounting entries, because we do not only classify the detachment, but the detachments also represent our accounts receivables. So you set up it in the accounts and later on in the detachment. This is how you set it up in the accounts. just go to the accounts, and we just include. This is already pre-set up, but this is specifically what we're talking about. So we've included Chanton 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 additional detachments that will be defined here for other detachments. Okay, so we have that here. Just basically typing it there and classifying it as accounts receivable trade, and our control accounts is accounts receivable. This is just basically typing. It's a piece of cake. So once we set up there in the accounts, we set it up in the detachments. This time it's for classifying the columns. Remember, when we go to this sales journal, you have to classify it by popping this up. Now you can do that if you don't set it up here. So again, these are already pre-defined from Chanton to Hard Rock Cafe. So we have already set up the thing that we need here for popping it up in the sales journal here. Okay, so once again, if you don't set it up there, there's nothing to pop up here. So that comes from this this file. Right, so once we've done that, we initialize the columns to capture in the transactions. We do that by going into this navigation pane. You open that up and you go to transaction plan, the treatment of the transaction plan, and you go to the design view. The columns, before we go that, let me just go to the right, and you will see these are the D columns for classifying the detachments. What we need is to add more, so we go to the design view. That's how you add it. You move this cursor down and you go to your left cursor, and you will arrive at the definitions here. It's already been defined, so I'll just review it with you. D51 pertains to the Chanton. Remember, in our notes, Chanton is D51, and then Chan is our code. So you go to this is D51, this is your Chan code, and so on and so forth. This is D52, and this is your ELEV code for elevated, right? There, D52 elevated until you reach D57 Hard Rock Cafe. So D57 is over here. That's the last and the least of the columns. That's HRC for Hard Rock Cafe. Now we go to initializing the profit and loss. Initializing the profit and loss query file, because what we did was just to classify the transactions. What we now have to do is to